everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That's the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. This is Nick Wright. How's everybody doing today?
Good morning.
Good morning, Jenna
Christine, our wardrobe coordinator, and Danielle, they have us all coordinated blue.
Oh, yeah.
A little pattern.
No, is that a new dress, Jenna Wolfe?
Okay. Yeah, sure. It is.
It is. It looks nice.
What's interesting is that we spend the whole morning together, but it's only 30 seconds ago that we all sort of see each other. It's like we're getting married every single morning for the first time, and we're seeing each other. So you look good. You had a good night.
Good night.
Productive
good night. Of basketball.
Great night of basketball.
Absolutely.
Broke some records last night. Let's start with some football, though. If there is one thing that I have learned from Cris Carter.
That's a new necklace you have on, Jenna. Isn't it?
Thank you. Yes, it's a new necklace. You're so observant. If there's one thing I've learned from Cris Carter, it is to listen to what people are saying in an interview. Giants co-owner John Mara said on Tuesday that the Giants are not trying to deal Odell Beckham. But he also said there was no guarantee Odell would be a Giant when this season began. You see how there sometimes are flaws in the system? Yesterday, we found out the Giants have reportedly asked for at least 2 first-round picks in return for Odell in any trade. The trade they won't be making, or maybe they will be making. It's uncertain right now. So, CC, is that a new pocket square? A, and B, is it starting to look like the Giants don't want to trade Odell at all?
Not a new pocket square. But this is the thing. When you're in a contract negotiation, and based on what the Giants had said in the past, I think the Giants have to be very careful. They've said before, we want Odell here. Now, since they've gotten a new general manager and a new head coach, and since this latest thing, the offseason, as far as the video, with him being in Europe, I mean, what else can the Giants continue to say? Because what if they can't come to an agreement on money? Okay. What if Odell thinks he wants to be paid like a quarterback? You know, we know what Le'Veon Bell, regardless of what we think, he thinks he should make the kind of money wide receivers should make.
Yeah.
Odell's probably going to think he should make the kind of money that quarterbacks are going to make, with Antonio Brown being the highest paid, around $18 million. So if you can't come to a deal, then you might have to trade him. And when you look at the Giants, where they are, coming off of winning 3 games only, I think to their fan base it's very, very important that they are consistent in what they're saying, but realizing that there's not anything out there that they wouldn't look at in trying to improve the team. So I'm with the Giants. Yes, he's not up for – we're not trying to trade him.
But if someone gave you 2 first-round picks, you would consider it?
If he wants $22 million a year, $23 million a year, someone else can have him too for that. Because I'm not going to be able to afford him long-term at that kind of number. So the Giants need to keep their options open. Yes, they want Odell. You know, I mean, who wouldn't want him when he's at his best? The only thing that's in question here is Odell and how mature is he going to be.
So when I hear that the Giants want 2 first-rounders for Odell, first thing I thought about was, Cece, I know you recently sold a house. I'm in the process of selling a house. About a year before, I wanted to move out of my house in Houston. A year before, I knew I was moving, but I didn't want to move at that point in time. Put the house on the market for about $100,000 more than I ever thought I could get for it. Basically saying, I don't want to move. I'm not trying to move right now. But if someone will pay me this, then I'll make it work. When you let the world know it's going to take multiple first-round picks for a player, to me what you're saying is it is a warning shot to the player. It is letting Odell know, hey, do you like being a Giant? Do you enjoy it in New York City? Do you enjoy the stability of the organization? Because you have put that stability on shaky ground through your own decisions. However, they're not having a fire sale, quite the opposite of it. Do you know how 2 first-round picks, what that reminds me of, is the franchise tag. When guys are franchise tagged, we always look at it as, oh, well, they are with that team definitely. But if you have the franchise tag placed on you, if it's the non-exclusive franchise tag, any team can come and take you. What's the price? 2 first-round picks and a new contract. And we never see players get franchise tagged and another team come out, or almost never.
Because it's too steep.
Because it's too steep. Like, it's just, and the teams that might consider it, I know Odell might not be a prototypical New England Patriot, but just take the Patriots as a for example. A team that might say, well, you know what? We have the 31st pick, and next year we'd have maybe the 32nd pick. It might be worth 2 first-rounders. That's not the type of deal the Giants are talking about.
Well, what'd they trade for Brandon Cooks?
1 first-rounder.
Okay.
Exactly right.
I mean, how much better is Odell than him?
I think he's significantly better than him. And I think the Pats are a team. I think a team at the tail end of the first round would say, oh, 2 first-rounders, maybe it's worth it for us. But that's not what the Giants are talking about. When the Giants are saying, in my eyes, when they're saying 2 first-rounders, talking about a team like, I don't know, San Francisco. Hey, give us the 9th this year and your first-rounder next year.
Yes.
A pick that we know is in the top 10 right now and potentially in the top 15 the following year. To me, this is more about the Giants not wanting to trade Odell, but letting the world know, hey, a team like, I don't know, the Los Angeles Rams, you sure seem to be in win now, get eyeballs, get attention on you. You don't seem to be worried about locker room stuff. You want to absolutely bowl us over with an offer. We'll listen to it, but I don't think they expect anyone to make the 2 first-round
Which, as we talked about this morning, could be win-win for both teams. Financially, could be sound for the Giants. Fans thinking, why would you ever get rid of a talent like Odell Beckham? You think, well, I can get 2 guys back, pay them rookie contracts, especially in the first round, talented guys, and then you don't have to give Odell Beckham Jr. that kind of money. But Nick said something interesting, which was from Odell's perspective, a warning shot to the player. Do you think Odell has taken it as such? Like, do you think that he has heard this and said, hey, you know what? Like, I know I've been warned before, but now they're actually thinking of moving me? I mean, do you think this is something that sort of sinks into him?
This is going to be interesting to see how mature he is, because the thing yesterday we brought up about the comparisons to Randy Moss. Because at this point in Randy's career, maybe a little bit, maybe in the next year, year 5 or year 6, Randy became disgruntled with Minnesota. Minnesota became disgruntled with him. They threatened to trade him, and then he was like, I don't care, trade him. And they traded him. And I know Randy Moss regrets that, even as he went back to the Vikings later in his career, and even hearing him speak when he went into the Hall of Fame. I mean, he loved his experiences, but if he could change the story, he would have stayed there. I think Odell, you have to be mature about it, realizing all this is brought on not because of the Giants. This is brought on because of yourself. So don't be foolish. Realizing, him and I have talked about this, what value it is to someone like him playing with the Giants. Not only living in the city of New York, but who the New York Giants are in the football community, the amount of respect that people have for them. They are one of the pillar franchises that we have in the National Football League. So I think he understands that, but sometimes you can get a little petty. You know, and I don't want him to get that in this situation, because this will blow over. If he handles his business, the Giants would love to sign him to a contract extension and have him spend his whole career in New York City.
And while I understand the cost of living is exorbitant in New York City, I would argue 18 to 20 million a year for Odell Beckham Jr. in New York City is worth more than $22 million a year for Odell Beckham in many other cities, because of the spotlight in which he's under, and because of, I don't think Odell Beckham gets the endorsement deal he got with Nike, even if he's the same player, if he's been playing for the Tennessee Titans all these years.
No.
I think a lot of it has to do with the marquee franchise, the marquee city. I want to run one thing by you as far as potential Giants trade. That does not involve Odell Beckham Jr. Because I've advocated that with the second pick, they take a quarterback. But if they decide they're going to keep Odell, and if they decide with this new regime, we're going to have a bounce-back season, I do think there is an avenue for them to get 2 first-round picks. I think we know Buffalo wants a quarterback. We know Buffalo wants to move into the top 5. If you're the Giants and you think with Odell, with Eli, with a healthier team as a whole, you can compete this year, they should consider calling Buffalo, saying 12 and 21 for 2. You can get your edge rusher in Marcus Davenport. Not Bradley Chubb, but the second best one. You might be able to get the second best running back in Darius Geis from LSU. Say, we're going to replace JPP with this guy. We're going to get our running back in the first round. We're going to go for it this year to try to build off the 2016 season. Like, this is a big turning point moment for them, or a fork in the road moment. Like, do you want to trade your best player? Do you want to go into what I would consider a full rebuild? Or do you want to try to retool for this upcoming season?
Yeah, some of the value in this year's draft happens to be the depth. So in getting multiple picks, it makes sense. But when you are picking number 2, you want to get a Hall of Famer. You want to get a generational player. I wouldn't take the chance of moving back, the chance of getting 2 players based on where the Giants are. And I don't think that they're going to necessarily be able to get that offensive lineman that they would want that would be worth that value. So being at number 2, it's kind of the irony to it. The Jets, they wanted to move up. They called Cleveland about moving to the #1 spot. The Jets are at #3. They didn't call the Giants at #2. So, you know, there will be some movement, I think, in the first round, but I think people will overreach for the quarterbacks, and there will be a run on quarterbacks early.
Today we start with Dak Prescott, first season, darling of the league, NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Second season, struggle city, exposed without Ezekiel Elliott, and a lot of questions surrounding his talent. Entering season number 3, what will we get from Dak Prescott? Here's Cowboys CEO Stephen Jones on his quarterback.
I think he's the key. You know, at the end of the day, he's a big part of it, and it all starts with him. He's the trigger guy, and you know, I think we can do some things to help him more. You know, I think Dak's a guy that's a little different than Tony, probably more like Troy in terms of the passing game. You know, he wants, you know, precise routes. He wants to throw the ball, you know, on time to areas. And whereas Tony would improvise a little more, not that Dak can't improvise, but, no, I think Dak is a little more disciplined in terms of wanting the receivers to be good route runners and be where they're supposed to be.
So, Cece, that's an interesting comparison, saying Dak is more like Troy Aikman than Tony Romo. What do you think?
I can understand what Steven's talking about, because Tony, he grew up kind of a miniature Brett Favre, where he was very, very good when things weren't on schedule, when things broke down in the pocket. He was a better athlete than people anticipated, and he could throw on the run. You know, that's not an indictment on Dak when you say that he's more like Troy Aikman. Now, I'm glad I listened to the words, because when he first said he's like Troy Aikman, I was like, what's he like him? They get dressed in the same locker. They got the star on their helmet, because I don't see the similarities. Now he talks about how he likes the game to be played, where Dak is, even though he came from the system at Mississippi State, he's a pure drop-back passer. He likes timing. He likes to be able to throw in the windows. Those are the types of things that Troy Aikman liked. But from a skill set standpoint, doesn't have the skill set that Troy Aikman had. I just must say that. His delivery, his wind-up is a little bit slower than Troy's. His ability to be able to throw the ball deep down the field, he doesn't have that ability to Troy. Troy's deep ball, Troy's deep comebacks on the outside, be able to throw across the middle, on timing, being fearless of throwing the ball in the coverage, and knowing that he had the arm talent to be able to get it there. Those are things that Troy Aikman, that Dak does not have. Now, can Dallas do some things that Stephen Jones mentioned around him offensively to be able to help him out? But the overall mentality is a little more like Troy, of just, I want a system. I want to throw to areas. I want my guys to be able to get open. I'm not going to ad-lib as much as Tony Romo. So with that part, I agree with what Stephen said.
I tried to listen closely to what he said there about the style in which Dak is, the precise.
Were you listening closely, because you know I listen real close?
Absolutely. No, 100% on something like this, no question about it. And one of the words he used were precise, on time to areas. And I thought about you, actually, when I heard this before the show, when you were describing Dez and the jerseys. We were talking about Dez and the route tree, and everyone this offseason, when they talk about Dez, is focused on, oh, he's going to have more different routes to run. He's going to diversify his route tree. You have been much more focused on, how about the routes you're already running? Run them better. Get a better release off the line of scrimmage. Make it clear to your young quarterback that you are going to be open. So hearing you say that, then it seemed to me Stephen Jones is, in different words, saying a similar thing. Not about Dez, but about what Dak needs.
Yes.
That Dak, when I hear that, what he's saying is Dak needs to know early, are you going to be, A, where you're supposed to be, and B, are you going to have a window, created a window, where I can fit the ball in? So the question I have for you is, if I'm hearing that correctly, and that's obviously what you believe that will help Dak out, what are the things the wide receivers can do to help Dak out, or the offensive coordinator can do to help Dak out, when he's talking about wide receivers running good routes and throwing to areas, rather than the Romo style, which was, I might run around. Hey, you initially were running a comeback. Now you're just going deep on a scramble drill. That's not Dak's game.
Right. They don't do a lot of things where they get the ball out of Dak's hand quickly, and the wide receiver is able to make a run or to be able to face up the defense. If we watch New England gets rid of the ball faster than anyone else. Now, they don't have the best athletes, But they've come up with the scheme that they can get the ball to guys on the run. In the National Football League, you can't keep dropping back and throwing the ball to wide receivers that have their back to the defense. You need to be able to catch them on the run so they can get yards after the catch. Dallas does not do a great job as far as yards after the catch, so they don't have a lot of things that are designed to get the ball out to them quickly and to make yards. And they don't have a great deep passing game. I'm talking about well thought out, where you have someone drag over the middle that suck up the safety, and then you sneak a guy deep behind them. You don't see them. Their deep passing is, okay, Dez, we're going to throw you a ball down the sideline, and we want you to win a 50-50 jump ball. And that's not a plan.
I want to follow up real quick. Because when you talk about getting the ball out quickly, typically you wouldn't think about what we saw Philly do, the RPO stuff, because that is slow developing. But what I did see with the RPO stuff was when they made the decision on the run-pass option to pass the ball, once the decision is made,
yes,
then
that
it's
quick
fast.
option, yes.
Then it
becomes a West Coast offense.
And a lot of those are drag or crossing routes where it could be an 18-yard completion where the ball traveled 4 yards in the air.
Right. And this is what they try to do. On the RPOs, the quarterback is behind the center in the shotgun. They have the back off to the left. And the easiest way to run an RPO is have the back fake a sweep going to the right. And in the process, the quarterback putting the ball in his pocket, he sees that linebacker right there. Once that linebacker moves, then I would put Dez or someone else on a quick slant. That's what they did with Nick Foles in the Vikings game, NFC Championship, and definitely what they did with him in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, that is a great thing. Dak should be good at that. But that's what you pay offensive coaches for, to come up with different schemes to be able to maximize his ability. It took Doug Peterson a few weeks to get to Nick Foles to get him into a system that he was comfortable, but they went right back to what he had success when he was the starter there. So good point there.
I was going to say the same thing about the sweep, but you said it first, so now I don't need to say it. So you guys heard that.
The RPO?
The RPO, all of it, every word of it.
The quarterback, he's in the shotgun?
The shotgun. Obviously,
right?
shotgun, and you move this way,
right.
4 yards in the air, but it was really like 18. Kevin Durant is expected to return to the lineup for the Warriors tonight. I know that because it's Thursday. And he said he's returning on Thursday. But even when he's not playing, he's still making headlines. KD joined Bill Simmons' podcast and proved that while he might have retired the burner accounts, he's still very much on the defensive. Here's what he had to say to Simmons. All your blog boys and your fanboys, that's going to use everything I say and create an article. Watch a basketball game. How about you write that? I just want to say that because all these guys are going to write articles and get real mad about what I said tonight. They're going to put their emotions into it. It's not about you. Watch a basketball game. Enjoy the game. Stop worrying so much about me. Senorita Sensitiva. I mean, a little bit sensitive considering you sort of brought it on yourself, I will just say. Is this Durant's chance to prove that he can win on his own? And if you feel free to react if you'd like to the...
Yeah, I think we'll get into that later. I'll answer your question first. Look, his legacy as an all-time great is set. So if they don't win it, I won't kill them if they lose to Houston without Steph in the conference finals. If they lose to LeBron and the Cavs in the finals without Steph, I wouldn't kill him. Some might, but I would not. But what this is an opportunity. If Steph is out, and obviously we hope that's not the case, but if he's out, this is an opportunity for him to enhance his legacy. If he leads this team to a title without Steph, and if they get to the finals, play LeBron and the Cavs, and he beats LeBron and outplays him in the clutch like he did last year in the finals.
Steph
Without Steph?
Without Steph. Oh. Then he would be regarded, I think, at that point as the best player in the world. Remember, on Christmas Day, they beat the Cavs without Steph, and he did outplay LeBron. So if he does that in the finals without Steph, then it enhances his legacy, and you start thinking of him potentially going higher in the all-time rankings.
Nick, who are the top 5 players in the NBA right now?
Right now, LeBron, KD, Harden, Steph, and there's an argument about 5. Giannis or the Brow or Kawhi or Russ.
Westbrook.
Yeah, I mean,
all those guys down there, Russ, there's major complaints about. Kawhi, we're complaining about him right now, and before that, potentially, was he injury? All right? The Brow
has never won a playoff game.
Yeah.
Not a series, a game.
Okay, Harden, is he ever going to play any defense? Can he play with anyone else?
Right.
Steph, can he stay healthy? Is this sustainable? Right? Can he play without a superstar? KD.
LeBron gets killed.
All of them.
KD's. Go ahead, CC. I'm sorry. I'll wait.
I mean, all of them are criticized. All of them are critiqued. And all of them are the best players in the world. Like, this is normal, KD. Like, you try to act like just because you went to Golden State, like, no, it didn't. Are you getting criticized more? But let me tell you something. When you said you hit that shot last year and the torch was passed, well, then accept the torch then.
There you go.
I mean, if you're the best basketball player in the world, we should be writing about you. We should be talking about you.
It's
now,
like
I'm not a writer, so I know he wasn't talking about me. But it's the type of pressure as an elite athlete that's what you want. You want the conversation to be around you.
He doesn't know that. He can't tell what he wants. Sometimes he wants it and sometimes he doesn't.
Hold on. We need to set the record straight on this for a moment. Because Kevin Durant, up until 18 months ago, was the least scrutinized NBA superstar of this era. Whenever things went wrong in Oklahoma City, it was blamed on Russ. He was, people adored him for his MVP speech as much as they did for his MVP season. His approval rating as a basketball player was higher than anyone's in the league. He was subjected to none of the can he win. Nobody blamed him for losing in 5 to the Miami Heat, even though they had the better record. No one, we never criticized KD.
Nobody blamed him when they dropped the 3-1 lead. Everybody blames Russ.
Everybody blames Russ. He then goes to Golden State, is subjected to some criticism, none of which about his play, just about his decision. The decision, I would think, is validated for him by the NBA Finals. Not just winning a championship, but winning it the way he did, as you put it, dominating in fourth quarters, averaging 35 points, hitting the shot that won the series in the best player in the world's eye. All that happened. What are you complaining about, bro? Why are you, to this day, live texting people on television, commenting to them about what they said about you? Why is that a part of your day-to-day? Why are you creating these straw men? Also in this podcast with Bill Simmons, who has become evidently KD's like personal therapist almost. He's gone on with him 7 times. Why are you saying, man, I went to Taco Bell and it ran through me like it'd be anybody else? I thought I was supposed to have some golden stomach. Nobody says that. Nobody is saying because you're one of the best basketball players in the world, you don't have day-to-day problems. What we are saying is you don't get to be the one superstar athlete in the world that people don't critique. And no one ever says, what's the biggest indictment on KD as a basketball player? That he's maybe the 3rd best player alive? Like that maybe it's LeBron Harden him? I don't know.
Right. And
what
I'm not
he's
in the
talking
camp
about.
either that his legacy is based on what he does without Steph. Man, if they're without Steph, they're without Steph. It's no different than LeBron when he was without Kyrie, when he was out Love. I mean, you are not going to win in this league without super talented players or superstars. So for me, my evaluation would be, oh, man, why can't this guy lead them with Draymond and Clay? I won't ever evaluate him that way. Now, if they were able to get into the finals, I think that you have to analyze what the game is and what the matchup is. But, you know, KD right now, I mean, I don't think that he realized how much people really love his play. The KD off the court, the KD with the social media, like that guy is not real attractive.
It's interesting because, as you said, in OKC, his approval rating was the best of all the star players. Yes. Now, I have talked to KD about this because I've said on the air, this is a different KD than what we saw in OKC. And if it doesn't look like the real KD, and that bothers me. KD has told me personally, no, what you see in Golden State is the real KD. He says the guy that was in OKC that bit his tongue, that was just didn't say anything, that was too nice. With that. He said that's not me, and I'm fine with it.
That was the fan favorite.
Well, that's the ironic thing. But once he told me, no, I'm being myself, I was cool with it. And if he wants to clap back at media, I'm not mad at that. If people go at him, he can go back at them. Just don't let it affect you on the court. As long as he can talk this way all he wants. And
that's what we saw this year. It affected him on the court with the personal fouls.
With the technical fouls.
With the technical fouls, yes. Because that's not him.
Yeah. Well, he said in OKC he did have a lot of tees.
Not the ejections.
Not as many.
No, the bigger irony is that the whole theme of what he said on the podcast was, I wish people would just watch basketball. Well, we wish you would just play basketball and stop.
we want him to talk.
I don't mind him talking. Jenna, my problem, I don't mind when an athlete feels like they are held to an unfair standard, that they are evaluated differently than anybody else. With KD, it seems like he wants to be held to a separate standard than every other superstar in this league, as Cris pointed out. All these guys get picked apart. LeBron is the most dissected athlete of all time that I'm aware of, as far as where we're trying to pick, does he have this, does he have that? Like, KD should recognize that. The level of hate, could he handle the level of hate Russ gets? Could he? Could he even handle the level of hate LeBron got?
He couldn't level that you get sometimes.
It doesn't seem
handle it is, what do you mean? If he gets it done on the court, he handled it last year. He went and got it done in the finals. Like I said, he can say what he wants as long as it doesn't impact him on the court.
Until we found out about the burner account.
That wasn't good.
No, that was not good. That was not a good look.
That didn't look like no type of MVP.
No, but if his main thing, if people don't like him, because you're right, that's the irony, is that when he wasn't being himself, according to what he told me,
everybody
liked him. Now he's being himself, and a lot of people don't like him. I don't care as long as he gets it done on the court.
Cavs beat the Hornets 118-105, holding on to third place in the Eastern Conference. Nick Wright, does LeBron have to play like this for the Cavs to have any shot at winning the title every night?
At winning the title, absolutely.
How about getting there?
Getting there, he has to play like this often, but not every night. But for them to win a championship, which I know, CC, that is the standard to which you are judging LeBron, because as you've said, that is the standard to which he is judging himself.
I mean, what else should we be judging him on?
It's totally fair. So the question, to win a title, how great does LeBron have to be? We'll just look at any time he's won a title. He hasn't quite averaged 41, 10, and 8, but I think most people would consider the back-to-back best games of LeBron's career, games 5 and 6 of the 2016 NBA Finals. You know how many points he had? 41. You know what his averages were about? About 41, 10, and 8. Like, for LeBron to compete in the finals, in every finals, aside from really the 5-game win over the Thunder, he has had to have 4+ triple-plus performances. I said yesterday, the only way for the Cavs to beat good teams right now, particularly when Kevin Love isn't playing, and he wasn't last night, and the Hornets aren't even a really good team, is for LeBron to be just out of this world great, or for everyone to hit shots. I have more faith in LeBron's ability to be out of this world great than on his teammates' ability to go 18 of 30 from 3. So the answer to your question is yes, absolutely yes.
Quick follow-up before you jump in. Does he have to be out of the world great plus one other guy, plus a number 2, or can he be out of the world great on his own?
They can win a game with him. We saw them on his own take 2 from Golden State in 2015 NBA Finals. But to win the series, he needs other people.
Yes, I'm impressed with what LeBron did. And what he did last night was because it's coming off of a horrible 4 quarters they had in Miami. The team was playing good. I think they won 4 in a row with Kevin Love coming back. Horrible performance in Miami, a game that Miami was fully engaged. I don't know what Cleveland was doing, but also what LeBron did last night, you could see he got other people involved. You could see J.R. Smith played the best game that I had seen him play this season. I mean,
no question.
I mean, he was driving the ball to the bucket. He was a playmaker, playing some phenomenal defense on occasion. Let's not get carried away. But this is the way LeBron has to play for them because they're a bad defensive team. And they're not a good offensive team unless they're rebounded with Kevin Love and unless they're getting up and down the court. Their half-court sets aren't great. So when you're not a great defensive team, you need to be able to outscore teams. And the only way Cleveland's going to be able to score that type of have that type of scoring output is if LeBron goes for 35 or 40.
I feel like the question isn't whether LeBron has to play like this every night, because we've learned that he can basically turn it on when he wants to, and he has played like this all season. There's no reason to believe he wouldn't. It's whether he's going to get the help to really push him through a series. So we're not talking 1, 2, or 3 games.
Well, I don't think we should take for granted what LeBron's done since February.
Oh, I don't
1st.
say take it for granted,
well,
but
I don't
he's
think we
been
can,
consistent with it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's totally fair to say that LeBron's going to give you this level of output every night. I think it would be extraordinary if come the Eastern Conference Finals, certainly come the NBA Finals, he is able to do this with regularity. To your point, the fact it shows you what situation the Cavs are in roster-wise, that even if LeBron were to do this every game in the NBA Finals, they still definitely could lose those NBA Finals, which is the supporting cast question you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think they're any match for the team in the West. I'd be surprised they could win 2 games against Golden State or against Houston the way the Cavs are.
Look, we know the saying that records are meant to be broken, but this is getting a little ridiculous. The 33-year-old LeBron James, Cavs star, tied Michael Jordan's record streak last night of 866 consecutive games, scoring in double digits. Then he scored 31 more points. LeBron finished with 41 in a win over MJ's team, the Hornets. Here's LeBron on tying Jordan's mark.
It just means I've kept my body in tune, in shape throughout all these years, all these games, 866. So anytime I'm in the same conversation with Mike and other great guys, it lets me know I'm doing the right thing, and hopefully I can try to continue that. So to all my teammates over the 866 games, my coaches, everybody, they've given me the opportunity to do that. So it's just very humbling.
Cris, put this in perspective for us. Of all the accomplishments that LeBron James has, where does this one lie? How impressive is it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's his most impressive, but it's very impressive, obviously. I mean, like he always says when he breaks scoring records, he's not viewed as a scorer and doesn't really consider himself a scorer, and yet he still is putting up all these marks. LeBron James, we know everybody talks about the GOAT conversation with him and Michael Jordan. What he's doing right now is he's following, not purposely, but right now he's following like the Wilt Chamberlain path to being considered the best player of all time. Like most rankings have Wilt Chamberlain ahead of Bill Russell. Even though Bill Russell won 11 rings, Wilt only won 2, but Wilt was so individually dominant. I call the NBA record book the biography of Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
You know, because his numbers are so ridiculous that people say he was the greatest player, he's better than Bill Russell. That's
a lot
what
of the rules
LeBron
were changed because of Bill Russell.
Exactly.
I mean, because of
Wilt
yes.
LeBron is racking up records. He's going to be the only player in the top 5 scoring. Maybe he'll be the all-time leading scorer in total points. And the only player in the top 5 scoring, top 10 assists. He's going to have more rebounds than Jordan. The longevity will be much longer. So that will be this is just one more record that'll be, for those that want to argue LeBron, that'll be how they go. It won't work for me unless he gets more rings.
Right.
But for those that want to, like our man right here.
For you, he doesn't need, tell me if I'm wrong, he doesn't need 6 rings.
No.
But he needs more than 3.
Yes.
He needs to win at least another championship.
If you are in your prime for, say, what's this, his 15th year? Say he has an 18-year prime, CC, where he's great for 18 years, top 5 player, but you only got 3 rings. At some point, it begins to work against you.
Especially
like you were
in
so
basketball.
great this long, but why'd you only win
Because
3
if you're
rings?
the best player in the game in basketball, you have the ability to be able to dictate offense and defense and dominate the game. That's why the championships have been one of the benchmarks for the greatest players that ever played in the NBA.
Listen, the championship discussion is always going to be a very difficult hill for LeBron to climb. And I can go through it that in LeBron's been to the finals 8 times. 7 of those finals, the opposing team has had at least 3 Hall of Famers on it. The only one that didn't was actually one that he lost to the 2011 Mavericks. We can talk about the fact that Jordan never faced a single opponent with 3 Hall of Famers on it. We can talk about, while we want to discuss finals losses, what about first-round losses, of which LeBron has 0. But when it comes to the numbers, like there was another record LeBron set in the previous game. The oldest player to ever have 2,000 points, 500 rebounds, 500 assists in a season. He also was the youngest player to do that. There are going to be a list of records that LeBron doubles up on, becomes the youngest player to do something, and then a decade or 12 or 14 years later becomes the oldest player to do something. We've seen him do that with a few records already this year, but this one in particular, I remember people talking about this because Jordan last scored, his 866th game with 10 straight points came as a wizard. Like his game within the single digits when the record was broken came as a wizard. And I remember people talking about how it would be more likely that someone would beat his 6 finals MVPs than beat this record because when Kareem had it, like Kareem had almost doubly lapped the field. 787. Second place when Kareem said, or Karl Malone was at 575. Kareem was at 787. Those are two guys who their biggest testament to their greatness was their longevity, was their ability, sustained peak, as you guys are talking about. The fact that LeBron is now going to pass Jordan Friday, right? Like we would be shocked if he didn't. We don't see any end in sight. When you look at the longest streak Steph has ever had is 74, right? Steph's current streak is actually 1 because he left a game due to injury. Kobe's longest streak was 211. Giannis's longest streak is 81. KD, by the way, I give KD credit. KD got to 562 and then had an off night. KD's 5th on this list, behind Karl Malone. 562, then had an off night. Starts all the way over. Like now, his streak right now is at 63. So he will never, to do this, to never tweak a hamstring in the first quarter. Like we talk about LeBron not missing games due to injury, but what about leaving a game early due to injury, not being able to come back, that as happened to Joel Embiid last night? Like you get elbowed in the face, you can't come back. The showing up every night, and to me it was fitting, Chris, that he did this in game 75 of 75 that he's played on a back-to-back in year 15 where he goes 41, 10, and 8. Like it was the Iron Man element of this is unbelievable.
Also the optics. You watch how he's doing it. Sometimes he can do it above the rim. Sometimes he can do it from beyond the three-point arc. You see him constantly pushing the pace and playing more at point guard. So it's not only impressive, but it's impressive how he's gone through, how he got through the first 100, the second 100, and how this last 100, it's been difficult. But the overall ability, if you like watching basketball, you have to watching LeBron play. He is one of the greatest guys that we have ever seen in playing this game. And it's still a pleasure because they played awful 2 nights ago in Miami. He comes on a back-to-back. People don't. You mentioned 866 on the back-to-back after the Miami. Like he could have mailed it in. But to be able to do that and be consistent with it is much respect to their accomplishment.
He could push this thing way out of range because as his athleticism goes, whenever that will happen, he's so skilled. And as you said, his jump shot appears to be getting better. His three-point shot is getting better. If he wants to go into the post,
he can
clearly do that. So he will still be a very effective player for a long time, even as his athleticism wanes. And you could even put him at point if you wanted to.
Just real quick in the Jordan versus LeBron discussion, one thing you didn't think about. He is 30-1 against the Hornets since Jordan bought the team. So, I mean,
I was there.
Y'all can have that as the GOAT. No problem.
I was there.
LeBron probably will be a better owner than Michael Jordan. But as far as basketball, take that loss. Y'all hold that down.
Sorry, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.